Hey guys, Ryan Soto here, and today we will be doing a book review on Spider-Man 3. Now, if you guys saw that review I did, well, it wasn't a review, it was like a video talking about books I've read from January to May. This was in one of them. Yes, I have read this, and I read this like back in November, I think, and then I finished it in January. I know it took me so long, it's because like I was so busy around that time, and I'm kind of a slow reader, so yeah, but this was an amazing book though. And also if you guys do remember, I also said that I was gonna be reviewing a lot of, I mean not all of them, but like a couple of Sam Raimi projects. Like I'm already reviewing the Evil Dead movies, and I'm reviewing this one. This is not written by Sam Raimi, but it is written by Peter David, but it is based off a Sam Raimi movie, and you guys know that this Spider-Man 3 is by Sam Raimi. So yeah, and I have a review. I have done a review for this the movie, but yeah, I did that with my dad back in December, and I'll put the link for that video down below. And the movie, I would say the movie I really enjoyed too. I know a lot of people don't like the movie. A lot of people say like, "Oh, the movie's garbage. Like this movie's so cringy. Like it's so boring. It's so messy." I mean, I do see its flaws, and I do see why people say that. I mean, it does get very cringy with Peter, and that was my only flaw was like that and a few other flaws I had with it. I do have with the movie, but with this book, it does have some of that, but like not as bad though, and it actually makes it better. Like I actually like this book better than the movie actually, because the book actually expands a bit actually, and there's actually like a lot more new scenes in here. Like there's a lot of like deleted scenes here that weren't in the movie, which I really enjoyed too, and that's what we'll mainly be talking about in this review, are all the changes from this and the movie, because this basically has the exact same feel as the movie, the same pace, and like yeah, it basically flows like the movie, and a lot of the same emotion from the movie, a lot of the same scenes, but the ending is actually surprisingly different from the movie. But I'll get to the ending once I go to the end of this video. But for now, I'll say my quick thoughts. So yeah, this was an amazing book. It was better than the movie. So yeah, now I'll get on to the differences between this and the movie. So the first difference is the beginning is a little bit different, because we get like a cute little scene with Peter looking at a kid that's hanging on a tree branch at Central Park, and he's trying to like mimic Spider-Man. I thought that was a cute scene. And then there was another scene where Peter tries to go to Oscorp to try to talk to Harry, you know, because this picks up right where Spider-Man 2 ended, where Harry knowing that Peter is Spider-Man, and him being the Green Goblin. So Peter tries to go to Oscorp to try to talk to Harry about it, but then he sees that he's not there, and then the security guard doesn't let him pass. Like he says like Harry's not there and all of that, and you can't get past the doors. So yeah, and also but I thought that was a cool change, because it shows that Peter, he actually wanted to talk to Harry. Like he actually had the guts to go and like apologize to Harry and talk to him about it, but he couldn't. And then another small change was the scene after MJ's play, where Peter congrats MJ. In that scene, there was a scientist in there who said, you were wonderful, darling." And then MJ told Peter, "Who was that guy?" And he's like, "I don't know. I think maybe I've seen him around in the science lab." And that guy becomes a new character to this book. Like we get an entirely new character in this book named Dr. Phil Wallace. And Dr. Phil Wallace, he's African American, and he's a scientist. And Sandman goes to him most of the time. Like Sandman goes to him because he believes that he can make a cure for his daughter's disease. So oh yeah, I forgot to mention, like if you haven't seen the Spider-Man 3 movie, please leave this review, because I will get into spoilers with the movie and the book. But if you guys seen the Spider-Man 3 movie already, then like you guys can stick around this video, like no problem, just stick around if you've seen the movie. I'm pretty sure everyone has. So yeah, but Dr. Phil Wallace, he's supposed to come up with the cure for Sandman's daughter for her disease, and so yeah. And so that's Dr. Phil Wallace, and then he does a lot in the ending too, which I'll get to. And there was another small change too, where Harry sees his dad in the mirror, before Harry goes into like that green little room where he has the green smoke on him. He hears his dad talking to him through the mirror, and he tells him kill Peter. Like, he took everything away from you. He took your girl. He took me away from you. Please avenge me. And then Harry keeps saying like, I can't, Dad. And he's like, please do. And then he's like, but you were the goblin. Like, you tried to kill me. And he's like, no, I didn't, son. I only tried to kill my enemy. The goblin was only made to kill my enemies, to only kill those people who were jealous of me. So yeah, that was a cool that was a cool scene. So yeah, and also there was another scene. Oh yeah, what was cool about this book is a lot, you get to like see a lot of their thoughts. Like, you get to like see like what the characters are thinking and all of that. Like, what Peter's thinking most of the time, what MJ's thinking, and MJ's there's a lot of drama with MJ in here that was very had a lot of emotion, and you feel more bad for MJ in the book than you do in the movie, actually, because here in the book you actually like see like what she's thinking and feel her emotion, like, literally. And that's what I really liked about this book, is they expanded a bit more on MJ. And Peter, you really feel for him too, because the part where he finds out that Sandman was the one that killed Uncle Ben, he thinks like, wow, I never had a chance to save Uncle Ben at all. Like, literally, like, him telling me with great power comes great responsibility, all that is destroyed by the Sandman. I had no chance in killing my uncle's killer, like catching him. And so all he wanted to do now was kill Sandman. So yeah, and from there, that's when he has full-on rage, and then that's when the black suit comes to him. So yeah, the way the emotion was done here in this book was beautiful. So yeah. And then another change to this in the book, I mean, this isn't really a change, but this was another cool emotion scene with Sandman, where it shows when Sandman's, like, the birth of Sandman scene in this book, you actually see what Sandman is thinking there. Like, he's struggling, like, he's moving up and then down, moving up and then down, stopping and then moving, stopping and then moving. So yeah, and then I really like what Sandman's thinking, like, I will rise, I will cure my daughter. She's the only girl, she's the only person who's ever loved me, who's ever seen me, who I really am. And like, because everyone around him hates him, like police hate him, his wife hates him, everybody hates him. The only person who loves him is his daughter, and he wants to give her payback. Like, he wants to reward her for that by curing her disease and making the only person that cares for him in this world not die. So yeah, that's beautiful emotion right there, and you really feel for Sandman more here. So yeah, and another small change is you get to see how MJ got the idea of working at the jazz club after she got fired, because after she sees Peter, like, you know, when Peter changes into the suit and then leaves and he's like, go get him, Tiger. So yeah, after that scene, MJ sees Ursula, and she's like, and she's just saying like, what you been up to, and Ursula's like, well, nothing much, just cleaning dishes at a jazz club. We need a singing waitress, if you know anybody who can sing. Can you sing? And then she says, I don't know. But you can so tell from there, that's when she gets the idea to become the singing waitress later on. So yeah, and then any other new scene here? Let me think. And there is a bit more emotion here with Eddie too, and let me see, like, anything else? Oh yeah, and then there's also a little like side story too with like the scientists. You know, remember that scene where Sandman was turning into Sandman? There was a scientist, like, they were like, there's a change in the silicon mass. Yeah, it's probably a bird, it'll fly away when we fire it up. Those scientists, like, there's a little side story with them, and we get their names, like Alan and all of that. So yeah, that was a cool little side story. And then there's another, I'm trying to think of like the biggest changes, you know. And then there's another cute scene where where Peter's in the parade, you know, that little parade that they have for Spider-Man, and like there's all those people cheering and the marching band and all of that. In that scene, there's this Peter sees a little kid who has like made like homemade webs that are made out of silly string, and then those webs end up running out, like, and then Peter's singing like, wow, like, those are web shooters, like, what would it be like to have web shooters? And that's a funny little nod to the comics. So yeah, and then like so the kid runs out of silly string, he runs out of his webs, and then Peter like spins the web at his foot, and then the kid like gets really excited because he knows that's Spider-Man. So he goes to his parents and he's like, Mom, Dad, it's Spider-Man. And then when they turn around, like, Peter's nowhere in sight. But that was a really cute scene. I thought that was cute. So yeah, and what other scene changed? I'm trying to think of another scene that changed. another. Let me think. Another new scene. Oh yeah, there's also another scene where where this was actually a pretty big change where Peter, like when Peter gets his black suit and he goes and fights Sandman in the train station, he actually takes off his mask and shows Sandman who he is, so he recognizes him because he's like, remember Ben Parker, the old man you shut down in cold blood? And he's like, what does it matter to you anyway? And that's when he takes off his mask, and then he's like, everything. But Sandman is thinking like, this is personal, like this is revenge, like he's like, this is actually like, this is a family resemblance, so fuck, like he sees that he's fucked. So yeah, that was cool. That was actually a pretty big change from the movie actually. What other scene changed from this? Let me think. Anything else that changed? Oh yeah, and then there's also a small scene where Sandman goes to Phil Wallace after that little fight with him and Peter on the, that little car robbery fight, that small fight. After that, he goes to Dr. Phil Wallace, and then the sand like crawls through the air vent, like those air vents in the ceiling. So he goes out of the air vent, like the sand comes out of there, and it forms Sandman. That's really surprises Dr. Phil Wallace. He's like, Marco, you're back. And then he tells him about the cure, and then he's like, I don't know. And then, I don't know, it'll cost a great fortune. And then he gets all the money he stole from the car, and he's like, will this do? And he's like, even this, like, and then he starts getting hesitant, and then that gets Sandman mad, and he like throws him out of a window. But he thinks, Phil Wallace thinks there's a cliff, but then Sandman just drops him there, and it's literally just a balcony. So that was funny. And what else? Any other scene that changed? Oh yeah, and there was also a cool scene where Peter sees Venom in the mirror. Where when Peter comes home from fighting Sandman in the trains, like you know from the movie, he's looking at himself in the mirror. In the movie, it just stopped at him looking at the black suit in the mirror. It didn't show Venom in the mirror. It literally just cut to him taking off the suit, and you're confused, like, why did he take off the suit? So, but here you get a perfect explanation to why he took off the suit, because he saw Venom in the mirror. He saw some sort of black figure with sharp teeth. So yeah, and then that really got him scared. And then there was even like the symbiote was even like attaching itself to him, and then Peter, like, he's thinking like, I've never felt so free with this, and he's like, is that really me, or is that the suit? And then that's what scares him and makes him take it off. So yeah, and then anything else? What else was there? Any other new scene? Oh, and like there was also like the scene where Harry gets his memory back was in the movie. It's after MJ comes to visit him. In the book, it's before. So yeah, but from before that happens, that's what gets him really scared. Like, Father, no, let me be. I'm free. I want to be free of this. And so he tries to ignore that and just have a fun time with MJ. But after MJ shuts him out, that's when he gets the idea to like listen to his father and like do what he's planned to do, like make him suffer, make him wish you were dead. First we attack his heart. So yeah, and I'm trying to look for that scene where Peter sees that what was that scene? Yeah, I can't find it, but I'm trying to find another new scene in here. Let me think. So after that, yeah, there's MJ and Peter in the bridge, like in the movie, and then there's oh yeah, and then there's also like a small scene, just a very small scene, with after J. Jonah Jameson fires Eddie, like Betty decides to like do something that'll calm his like blood pressure, and she just gives like, there's like these little chimes, they call the Chimes of Serenity, that's supposed to calm down J. Jonah Jameson, and then she gives them to Hoffman to give it to him, and he's like, get out of here, you moron. Yeah, and what other scene was there? Let me see, any other scenes I should say? Let me think. Oh yeah, and then there's also a small scene where before Eddie gets fired, Peter actually takes a cover of the newspaper, and then that's when he sees like, this picture looks familiar, like something about this looks very familiar, and then he's like, oh wait a minute. That's when he finds out that this picture is fake, that was from a picture with him with the red suit. So yeah, and then let me see, any other new scenes I would say? Oh yeah, there's also a cool new scene where it showed after Eddie got fired, he went to he went to Gwen's house to try to talk to her about it, but Gwen just felt very embarrassed in front of him, and like she broke up with him, and he brought a box of chocolates, and she was like, I really appreciate that, but you should just go, Eddie. Like, you really embarrassed me in front of the whole school, finding out that the whole school making fun of me that I gave the key to the city to a thief, and now that you even frauded my savior, so no. Like, she keeps shooing him away, and then he's like, come on, please, baby, and like all this stuff, and then her dad's right there too, and her dad's like, hey, get away from her, son, before I lock you up. And then he kicks him out, and then like Gwen's like, I don't know what I do to make him come back, and he's like, well, you are a very attractive young lady, and yeah, so like that's so yeah, and she keeps telling, and I think he told her like, please stay away from guys like that or something like that. But that was I like that new scene. Like that was a really great new scene. Like just seeing Eddie like trying to talk to Gwen again. So yeah, and let me see. Yeah, sometimes Gwen, you can go too far encouraging these young men. Yeah, that's what he says. And then what other scene? There's also another new scene that actually creeped me out a little. Like there are some. This actually like the book like made it feel like kind of Raimi-ish at times, because this book did actually get kind of creepy at times. And let me see. Yeah, then there's Peter fighting Harry and all of that. Like Peter fighting Harry in the house, like you know, like the scene from the movie. And then I'm trying to see, like, there was a scene that I liked where it showed, like, the black suit doing something. Oh, yeah. There was this scene. I'll read it to you guys. Because I don't know how to describe it, but I'll just read it to you guys. Let me see. Yeah, it starts off right here. The mud down by the East River stirred. A copy of the day's Daily Bugle floated past a dark, muddy stain that was bobbing in the moonlit water. The floating pile of mud was carried along by the current and then surprisingly started to move against it. Anyone observing it would have thought that perhaps it was not mud at all, but a strange type of jellyfish or other sea life that had wandered into the river. And that was happening. As that was happening, Peter Parker was back in his apartment, having removed the black suit. He had settled Eddie Brock's hash, and it was a beautiful thing, but he'd seen the concern in Betty Brant's eyes, the surprise in Robbie Robertson's. His anger toward Brock was completely justified, and yet it made him feel extremely uncomfortable. He decided it would probably be best to divest himself of the outfit as soon as possible. This he managed to do with the minimal effort, for this time around the suit wasn't adhering to his skin, with quite such an air of desperation. In Peter's imagining, he fancied that the suit didn't feel the need to be quite so clingy, because it knew it had him. If he'd voluntarily put it back on once, he would do so again and again. Done deal. So Peter decided to put it back in the trunk and lock it up, just to show it who was boss. Yet, curiously, that wasn't where the suit wound up. Instead, it lay draped over a chair, looking partly like cloth and partly like a dark puddle. Meantime, a genuine dark puddle over on the river had nearly reached the shore. A tendril slowly stretched up from the puddle, groping along the riverbank as it pulled itself to ground in safety. The puddle began to grow as more and more mud oozed behind it out of the river, and slowly the pile of mud and dirt stood upright and began to gain the mass and form of a human being. All this while Eddie Brock sat in a bar and drank himself into a stupor, alternating between muttering Gwen Stacy's name miserably and Peter Parker's name with hatred and venom. So that was a really cool scene, actually. That was kind of a creepy scene to see, like, maybe, like, I don't know what that means, but maybe it means that maybe a part of the symbiote is still out there and it formed a human being. Or maybe it was to form, like, the mud was supposed to be a metaphor of what the symbiote was like it was forming into a human being and forming into Peter, like it was becoming one with Peter. So that was a cool little metaphor right there. And also, what was cool about this was you got to like see a lot of like Peter's like emotion and how much he's changing with the black suit and how much the black suit is changing his thoughts and all of that. So that was cool. And then there was another scene right here. Oh yeah, and there was also like a small scene where Peter invites Gwen to the he invites Gwen to the jazz club. Like he's at the school, you know, like with his like black suit on, you know, like not the Spider-Man black suit, but you know, like that little black outfit he has when he's like dancing across the street. Yeah, he's in there in the school, and that's when he invites Gwen to the jazz club. So yeah, and then from there, that's when you hear his thoughts like, MJ really hurt me, so I should pay the favor back. So yeah. And then There was another like small scene. There's like a small line added where after Peter punches MJ, you know, from the movie, she says it's the suit, and Peter looked down. Yes, she had seen the top of his costume peeping through the dress shirt. He quickly covered it and turned toward the exit. The crowd of people parted like the Red Sea before Moses, and Mary Jane did something she hadn't done in a long time. Dear God, hear my prayer. Help him, and bring him back to me, please. So that was a cool little touch. And then there was a cool scene where you know that one scene where Eddie and where Peter takes off his suit and then like it goes on to Eddie. That whole scene was actually in the daytime actually, so that was cool. And anything else? Oh yeah, and then there was a cool scene that there was a cool line that Eddie said that was kind of different from in the movie. He talks about like, Eddie Brockster, I've been wronged, and the woman I worship will have none of me. I don't qualify as the perfect boyfriend, but who does? Jesus didn't answer. I ask you, why do I have to suffer for everyone else's imperfections? Why can't I ever have what I want? What about me? What about Eddie? I try to do what's right. I follow your rules. I obey the thou shalt nots. I'm a decent person. So I come to you today, humbled, humiliated, to ask you of you but one thing. I want you to kill Peter Parker. So yeah, but that whole scene with the black suit was cool. And when Eddie looks up, he's actually mimicking Peter, like he's screaming himself, like he's screaming just to mock Peter. So yeah, but when he's screaming, his screams turn into dark growls, like dark like roaring. So yeah. Oh, and there was another cool scene. Excuse me. There was another cool scene added too, where Eddie actually goes to Peter's apartment and he tries to kill him there, but he's showering though. But he actually sees the red suit and he sees a picture of Mary Jane, and that's when he gets the idea to kidnap her for a trap for Peter. So that was a cool little new scene. And then there was another scene. And there was another cool scene too where it showed Penny Marco. She sees Sandman in the castle, which was in the Spider-Man 3 editor's cut. Oh, and like Eddie trying to get Sandman to team up with him was actually different in the book. He actually comes to him in the park in daylight, so in the daytime. So he goes to him and he tells him, how would you like to pair up and all this stuff. So yeah, that was cool, like seeing him as the human instead. And there was the ending was different too, because Sandman's family actually go to Sandman before he's about to brutally kill Peter, because Dr. Wallace gets Sandman's family to like try to stop Sandman, and then Phil Wallace and the family go to Captain Stacy and they're like, can we please go up there? We know who the Sandman is. We know how to stop him. So he lets him pass. And then that's when the family and the daughter, like, Sandman is actually almost gonna kill Peter. Like he has like a hammer, like a sand hammer, and he's about to kill him. But Emma's like, no, Penny's like, Daddy, please stop. Please don't hurt him. He did nothing. Like, and then that's when he says like, I'm doing this for you, I'm doing this for you, Penny. Like, he's in my way. And then she's like, no, it's not worth killing anymore. I don't even have much time. All I want now is to just be with you, like spend my last moments with you. And then that's what gets Sandman like to stop. And then Penny's like, and then that's when he's like, I've done a terrible thing to him. I've killed his uncle, but it was an accident. And then that's when Penny's like, Spider-Man, I know he did a bad thing to you, but please forgive him. He's a good man. He killed your uncle, but it was an accident. And then that's when Peter's like, I forgive you. And then from there, they hear Venom roaring, and he's like, get your family out of here now. Go. And then that's when Sandman and his family leave, and that's the end for Sandman. But that was a really nice ending right there. Like, that was a beautiful ending right there of Sandman. That was better than the other one, actually. But when they hear Venom roaring, that's the scene in the movie where Venom roars, and then he takes Peter's head and all of that. But Venom's death here was scary. Like, it was scary, because when Peter is like doing all the vibrations on him and all of that, and he's trying to take Eddie out of the symbiote, it's not Eddie, it's skeletons. Like, it's a bunch of bones and skeletons that are left out from Eddie. And that was fucking creepy, showing that the symbiote already consumed Eddie Brock. What Eddie Brock was no more. The symbiote literally ate him and became one with him. So that was fucking creepy. And they should have kept that ending in the movie. Like, they definitely 100% should have kept that in the movie. And then they said that the goo of Venom tried to form back with Peter, but he wasn't letting him, and then the goo was like, never wound what you can't kill. And then Peter gets a bunch of like bars or something like that and drops it on the symbiote, and then like it makes a bunch of vibrations